Go DEI. My DEIs are bringing it home.
There's no good reason for him to be at most of these.
Doesn't he have to be in this one?
He has to be there. And the judge warned him
right?
the other day that if he fails to appear, a warrant will be issued for his arrest.
Essentially, he's like a caged animal, and that's a dangerous situation. He's feeling very threatened. He's out of control, and so we do expect him to lash out. Anybody who has covered him over the past decade can expect that.
Over at MSNBC, Joy Reid is, well, nuts. And she's absolutely lost it. And she's got some, well, intriguing observations on the Trump trial as it stands right now.
In prison. But for me, there is something wonderfully poetic about the fact that despite the fact that even if convicted, he's not going to go to prison, the first person to actually criminally prosecute Donald Trump is a Black Harvard grad, the very kind of person that his former staff, the people who worked for him, Stephen Miller, et cetera, want to never be at Harvard Law School. But he was. And he came out and graduated. He's prosecuting you, Donald. And a Black woman is doing that same exact thing in Georgia. And a Black woman forced you to pay a $175 million fine that's out now also in question because the people who put it up, that might not be legit. Donald Trump is being held to account by the very multicultural, multiracial democracy that he's trying to dismantle. And for me, there's something poetic and actually wonderful about that. It says something good about our country that we're still capable of having that happen. Go DEI. My DEIs are bringing it home on today.
Go DEI. My DEIs are bringing it home. She's quite a piece of work, isn't she? So her entire assessment of this trial right now so far is race revenge. Race revenge is good. This is what we want and this is what we need. Race revenge. She's nuts, but she can't even anger me at this point. I'm amused by Joy Reid for two reasons. Number one, that's her entire playbook. That's all she's got. All she's got is to continue to play the race revenge card. And she's trying to make us mad. She's trying to bring out the worst in us. And I refuse. In fact, I find it amusing, partly because I know that's all she has. But even more importantly, number two, and this is why whenever you see Joy Reid, you should just laugh. Because here's the best part of it all. MSNBC, NBC News, NBC Universal, Comcast, corporate, they can never fire that woman. They have created such a doomsday apocalypse for themselves. I don't know what she could do at this point that could actually get her fired. They are stuck with her. She says, my DEI, you know what? This is what DEI looks like. We had to have Joy Reid in our primetime lineup because we need to be more diverse because everybody looks like Rachel Maddow. No, literally, Chris Hayes looks just like Rachel Maddow. So we got to diversify. So Joy Reid, it was either Joy Reid or Al Sharpton. I don't know. Which way do you want to go, guys? All right, let's go with Joy Reid. Because she checks 2 boxes, I suppose. Oh, 3 boxes. She's also a blonde. So they got Joy Reid in there, and now they're stuck with her. They can never fire that woman, no matter how batshit crazy she is. They can never call her into the office and say, Joy, we're done. Because they know what they will have on their hands at that point. And that makes me laugh. That brings joy to my life. Good job, NBC. You are so stuck. Remember how hard it was for them to hire Ronna McDaniel? Just imagine how hard it's going to be for them to fire Joy Reid. Oh, it's beautiful. Meanwhile, over on I don't know, one of the other shows, they're all the same. We had this exchange over the trial.
But why is he there? He's there because he wants to show that he's being persecuted. It's a way for him to raise money off his base. That's why he keeps coming to all of these trials in New York. There's no good reason for him to be at most of these.
Doesn't he have to be in this one?
He has to be at some of these things, but he keeps coming though. He was there for the civil trial. He was there for the trial with E. Jean Carroll. He doesn't need to be here for every single moment of these things. And he keeps coming because he's trying to raise money off of it.
Okay, hold on. We're going to let this finish, but I think I know where this is headed, right? That's Nicole Wallace, by the way. I'm sorry, I forgot her name. It's all the same show. This is the expert that they brought in to analyze the trial. In fact, he's such an expert and so important to their analysis. I believe this guy is a former assistant attorney general for the state of New York. So this is a legal expert. And he's so important they've even brought him into studio. None of this Skype stuff from home with a bookshelf behind you. No, sir. We're gonna have to do makeup and hair on 360 because the camera may catch you beyond just this shot. So they bring him into studio to give his legal analysis, and now he's dumping all over Trump because look at him. He's showing he doesn't need to be there, but he's there because he's raising money off of it. And you and I, who have been watching this, who read the news, who are actually informed, you know where this is headed. We know more about this case than this guy, than the expert, because of course we know that he does have to be there. The judge has forced him to be there. Just yesterday, Trump was lamenting the fact that they're going to keep him from going to his son's own high school graduation. And this guy's up there saying, look at him. He doesn't even have to be there, but he's just raising money and he's flexing. All right, so now let's watch how this unfolds. It's exquisite.
So
He has to be there. And the judge
this
warned
one,
him
right?
the other day that if he fails to appear, a warrant will be issued for his arrest. And if he disrupts the proceedings, he could be ejected or go to jail. He has to be there every day.
For this one, that's the criminal.
but just the number of minutes that he's there. So he has to be there for some of these. But why is he there? He's there because he wants to show.
All right, sorry, it just flipped to the beginning again, but I just want to watch that last moment again when crazy hair lady grandma here corrects the record.
Issued for his arrest. And if he disrupts the proceedings, he could be ejected or go to jail. He has to be there every day.
For this one, that's the criminal.
But just the number of minutes that he's there. So he has to be there for some of these.
He has to be there for some of it, sure, but it's just so long. The guy's a moron. The guy, or I shouldn't say that because I'm sure he's well educated, but he doesn't know what he's talking about. And I mean, literally, I don't mean that as some sort of rhetorical flourish. You don't know what you're talking about. No. This guy actually does not know what he's talking about. And he's the expert legal analyst that Nicole Wallace and MSNBC brought into studio to cover it. Now, I didn't mean to call him a moron. I'm sorry. I should have saved it for these two.
I think it's fair to call him a moron, Larry.
Huh?
I think it's fair to call him a moron. That clip is brutal.
I know, Kevin, but I don't like to call names. And here's the thing: if I call everybody a moron, then it loses its impact. See, these two, you see who I'm got. These two are morons. Here it matters. But you're right, that is a brutal clip. Is that your favorite clip of today, Kevin?
Absolutely, but I think we can probably agree on woefully unprepared for that interview.
There you go. Woefully unprepared. Yeah. He had one job and he couldn't even do that. Then there's these two. So, and by the way, I just mentioned that Chris Hayes and Rachel Maddow look exactly alike. Add Joe Scarborough to the mix. What is with the MSNBC look? They all have the same look. Which I'm sure Joe is really happy to be compared to a feminine male and a lesbian woman. That's about right, actually. He's hitting the sweet spot, isn't he? Joe Scarborough is. This is This Morning. Here's Mika and Joe doing their Mika and Joe thing.
I want to counter that with the rage that he might feel in this situation of not having control. Mara Gay, I think, there's the other side of this and the concern some might have, many might have, about the gag order being broken, sort of broken already many times, and people's, number one, lives being put in danger by what he says about them, but also, number two, ginning up anger. He walks outside of the courthouse and does these speeches. We don't take most of it at this point unless he says something of newsworthiness. And then going to this bodega and having hundreds of people wanting to meet him and using these moments covered by Fox News and other far right networks as sort of campaign events. I think there is something to be said for what he can do with this. Your thoughts?
Well, that's certainly a concern. And you saw yesterday that the judge recognized that concern in admonishing him and saying, I'm not going to have, mumblings in my courtroom that could intimidate potential jurors. So, obviously that is a concern that's shared by many. I do agree with George. I think that his PR capabilities are going to be somewhat limited in New York City, or maybe it was John that mentioned that a moment ago. That's absolutely true. It's an ongoing concern because essentially he's like a caged animal, and that's a dangerous situation. He's feeling very threatened. He's out of control. And so we do expect him to lash out. Anybody who has covered him over the past decade can expect that. But, you know, one of the things that I actually find really reassuring about the past couple of days is just how mundane and ordinary this trial looks. I was actually called for jury duty in New York City last year, and it was much the same kind of process in a criminal trial. You know, at the end of the day, I was not, I ended up not serving, mostly because of the work that we do here. But, you know, it is reassuring that Donald Trump is no different than anybody else who would be called in this kind of a trial. And you know who else is having to sit there for 8-9 hours a day? These jurors whose lives have been interrupted. And, you know, that is part of the democratic process. And it is playing out so far exactly as it should, which isn't supposed to be fixated on some outcome, but on a fair trial in a free democracy that would be no different for anybody else. And I also think that that really does give a little bit of gravitas to this case that has been in some quarters controversial, seen as maybe not as serious as the other trials. But the reality is, and I've covered trials here in New York, anybody who may have committed a crime should be held accountable for that crime. And we're seeing this play out. And I think it's reassuring. I think it's hopefully encouraging Americans and voters ultimately that our system still works, even for a former president.
Donald Trump, a caged animal, she says. Anyone who commits a crime should be held accountable for it, which I think we could mostly agree with as well, except this is also Mara Gay from the New York Times, who was very much in favor of the Black Lives Matter, defund the police movement, who hasn't met a criminal that she hasn't endorsed or favored, depending on the color of their skin. Also, can I just ask a quick question? What the hell is going on with George Conway? Look at him. Seriously, is he transitioning? He's got that Bruce Jenner pre-Caitlyn look going on. And would any of us be surprised? Am I wrong, Kevin? Am I being cruel now?
No, he kind of looks like a Muppet.
He does have the Muppet look. What the hell was Kellyanne thinking? Oh, Lordy. Also, just a quick reveal for you, because I mentioned the other day, yesterday, I believe, I was catty and petty and really beneath me to make fun of Joe Scarbo's hair dye. But I mentioned that the two of them do their show from their garage in Florida, while everybody else has to assemble in other studios. That's what's going on here. Remember, yesterday, Joe was at a table, and he had his colleagues there at the table, and they were interacting and stuff. And now, because they've got to be in their tax-sheltered Florida situation, I mean, how many millions of dollars do Joe and Mika make from NBC News? And the network can't say, yeah, you know what, the least you can do is actually do the show from our studio? Nope. You want Joe and Mika, you're going to set up a remote studio in our garage in Florida. So that's where they are. Take a look at this picture. Now, sorry, I'm in the media. You can notice these things. The woman in pink here, she's in New York. That's Mara Gay. And she's on the same set as this dude over here and this dude over here. They're all in New York. In fact, they may even be all in the same studio at the same table, looking into individual cameras, not looking at each other. These two are down in Florida. And poor George, he's over on Nebraska Avenue in D.C. at the NBC studios there where they do Meet the Press. He's in the D.C. studio. So they're all there. It's like the Brady Bunch. It's like the Brady Bunch. They're all in different studios here just to accommodate these two in the middle, Joe and Mika, who, you know, all they want to do is wake up at the very last second, roll out of bed, slap some makeup on, cover up the gray spot on the crown of Joe's head, sit down in their garage studio. You know they're not wearing anything from the waist down. And then as soon as they're done with their really heavy lifting 2-hour show where they pretty much just read a teleprompter, they go right back into bed or maybe lounge by the pool. It's a tough life they have. It really is. I'm sorry, that was beneath me too. Actually, nothing is beneath me with these people. Absolutely nothing.